Today I'm talking with Tony Pritchard, author of Self-Discovery, Humour and Observation. Join me as we learn about Tony's creative history and his love for the environment, particularly the Darling River. G'day Tony, how are you today?
I'm well, Jenny, thank you.
That's good, that's good. Now you're the author of 3 books with us, Canoeing Down the Darling, Drifting Down the Darling and Paddling Down the Darling.
Very innovative titles.
Yes, exactly. And as Eric Morecambe would say, all the right titles, just not necessarily in the right order.
Correct.
But I'm getting that you're pretty passionate about the Darling.
Yes, yeah, that's an understatement. And I'd be down there now except for the borders and COVID.
Right. So I suppose even canoeing, they're not going to let you across, are they?
No. I could have got across a month ago, but I wouldn't be able to get back.
Right.
And now the Queensland government's just letting a few in, but you got to fly back and give blood and whatnot. So it's not worth the pain.
Yeah, fair enough. Hopefully it won't be much longer, and then you'll be able to get back on the river. So how many? Okay, so you've canoed it, drifted it, and paddled it. So one question for the novices at home: what's the difference between canoeing and paddling?
The first trip I did in the 70s, I had a 10-foot tinny.
Yeah.
A flat bottom boat, no motor, no oars, just a paddle. So I sort of drifted,
Right.
just with a paddle to dodge submarines and things. And then in the 2010, I bought a canoe.
Yeah.
So I guess canoe and paddling are the same.
Right.
But in the 70s, I didn't have a motor or oars. You can't go down the Darling with oars. You'll crash into things.
Oh, okay.
So not kayak. I don't talk to kayak people.
So a paddle is one at a time?
Yeah.
And oars are 2 at a time?
Yes, and the paddle is a single paddle, not those double paddles.
Oh, so it's not like
No.
It's lift it out, put it in, lift it.
Correct. Yep.
Oh my God, that'd keep you fit.
Yeah. Yes.
Holy cow. So your first trip, I think, 18 months, was it?
Not quite.
A year and a half, just paddling down a river.
Drifting down the river.
Drifting down a river.
Yes.
So, okay, so logistically, I'm a person, if it's not 4 stars, I don't go there. Where do you sleep? Where do you go to the bathroom? How do you eat? Like you know?
I had a tent.
Yeah.
But as I found out, I didn't have a bottom in the tent, but that's another story. So tent on the riverbank each night. Some nights I just slept in the dirt.
Yeah.
Eat food. I had, in the 70s, we're talking about first of all, because it's totally different to now.
Yeah.
Bit of freeze-dried food then. It wasn't as good as it is now.
Yeah.
I had a rifle. I shot everything and ate anything that wasn't nailed down. I ate fish,
Right.
flour, cooked dampers. Go to the toilet. I didn't go to the toilet for 18 months.
Fair enough. I would be the same. Yeah.
Shovel, dig a hole right up above the waterline.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah.
Not 4-star, no.
No. No, not my kind of accommodation, I'm afraid. And so you wouldn't have shaved for that length of time, did you?
Or washed.
Or washed?
Washed.
Joyous. So did you see any other people? Like, were you lonely?
Yeah. I stopped in all the towns.
Yeah.
As in Brewarrina, Burke, Louthorpe, all the towns all the way down. I worked in a few wool sheds, saw a few fishermen here and there, a few locals. Yeah. But there were lots of times when there was a great length of time and I didn't see anybody.
Right.
And I didn't want to, but that was dodgy.
Yeah. So you were sort of happy to be on your own?
Yes.
Yeah. Fair enough. So when you pull up to go into town, question. The whole didn't shower for 18 months, whatever it is. Did you swim in the river at all? Like, did you freshen up at all? Like,
yeah. When I stopped in a town, sometimes I'd stop in a hotel to have a hot shower.
Yeah.
But it was sometimes 4 weeks, 5 weeks without any sort of wash. Swim in the river. Yeah, I never use soap in the river, of course.
No.
In the hot months, swim in the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about rain? Did it rain while you were out there?
Did it rain? In the 70s, it rained every day.
So you picked the one time when it wasn't in drought.
Yeah, it did. The river went over the banks. It went down in that time I was there. It went over the banks. That was 76, 77, 74, the big floods, of course.
Yeah.
I was in Brisbane at that time.
Right. Wow. So what is it about the Darling?
Wow. How long have we got?
Oh, well, half an hour if we can do it.
All right. I grew up in Dubbo on this river they call the Macquarie River, and I spent half my life either in the river boating on it or fishing or whatnot. So the love
Yeah.
of the river. So I wasn't a city kid who went to the bush. And then my
No.
dad was a house painter with the Public Works, and he went to all the Western New South Wales,
Mhm.
and he came back with stories of the Darling. And I just had to be up there, as my dad was my idol, and I wanted the experience. So that was it. I had to go.
And you weren't disappointed?
Oh no, no,
No.
100 times better than I thought.
That's fantastic. What
Mm.
what's so good about it?
It's ancient. It's slow. It smells good. The river is beautiful. Bird life, the fish. It's quiet. It winds a lot. There's no. There's a few fast bits through rocky bits, but it's as slowest flowing river on the planet, I think. Really,
Really?
yeah, something like that. It falls 1 inch to the mile. That's the fall.
Wow, so it wouldn't be
Yeah,
fast. Yeah.
in flood it moves along. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it is. But there's enough current there just to drift. I was doing about, I don't know, 4, 5 road miles a day. The
Okay.
Darling winds incredibly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 10 to 1. It's usually 2.5 to 3 to 1. It winds as the crow flies.
You could walk it faster, couldn't you?
You could walk it a lot faster, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that would be boring.
Is there a walking track? Do
No,
people walk it? No. No.
no, there might be a fellow walking it in a couple of years. I emailed him the other day.
Yeah.
What did you say before?
I can't remember.
Sitting. Oh, when I know, I
Walking,
was going to
yeah.
say when I'm
Yeah.
sitting in the boat, in the canoe now, with no motor, and you're silent and you're drifting,
Mm.
and you make no noise, you
Mm.
drift right next to emus and brolgas and kangaroos. They just look at you, and I think, what is this thing floating down the river?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, they probably do, don't they? Well, so when was the last time you went down the river?
The Darling we're talking about,
Yeah, the Darling, yeah.
2018.
So it's at 3 years. All right, so even then, the wildlife was still there.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
good, good. Yeah. So it'd be flowing pretty well now, wouldn't it,
It
after
is
the rains we've
flowing.
had this
It
year?
was dried up in water holes, and we had that rain. Well, it was early 2020, I
March?
think, just before the COVID thing hit, and
Yeah,
it's had another fresh. It's flowing. Menindee Lakes are currently full, 100%.
wonderful.
The river is currently pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. So you're just hankering to get back out there again?
Yes. How'd you know?
Yeah. I can see it in your eyes, buddy.
Yes, you're right.
Um, so the next trip that you do, how long will you do the same route that you've done in the past, and how long do you tend to take?
Well, roughly now what I do, I would drive, say, to Burke, and I'd paddle to Louth and Tilpa, which would take me, on the river, would take me 5 or 6 weeks.
Right,
That's
right.
what I do.
Yeah, yeah,
Years ago, I went from Menindee to Pooncarie to Wentworth. I've done that trip 6 times. That's about 500 k's, river
wow,
kilometres.
wow.
And ABC interviewed me, and the lady said, "My boss wants to talk to you." I said, "Righto." He said, "I got a couple of personal questions." I thought, here we go. This was live on radio.
Yeah,
And he said, "Did you ever get sick of it?" I went, "Yeah, yeah, every second day I cry a lot." But I said,
yeah,
"It's okay." And he said, "What did you do out there? The Darling is exactly the same. One bend looks the same as the other." I
yeah,
said, "No, you're completely wrong." I said that as politely as I could. I didn't swear.
yeah,
It is so different, every bend. But it is exactly the same from Burke all the way down. It is. You've got sandy beaches on the inside bend, 15-metre banks. It is. The river red gums on the inside, the Coolabah, then the black box on the outside. It
right.
is similar all the way down.
Yeah,
But it is so different when you sit and be quiet on a river.
and you just observe, and yeah,
Observe, sit there, and you go inside your head a bit.
yeah. Can you go too far inside your head out there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yes. And definitely. I still haven't come to terms with how much solitude I can have before I
yeah,
go nuts. So
right,
it could be a week, it could be 6 weeks. There's no cut-off point, if
right.
you know what I mean. There's no, okay, it's 2 weeks, I better talk to someone.
Yeah.
I can't
So it
have,
varies from time to
it
time and trip
varies.
to
And
trip.
when that time comes, I got to talk to someone, a fisherman, or go to town, or try and
Yeah.
read or something.
Yeah, yeah. And I think yeah, you need to. You need to. It's human nature. We do need to connect somehow from time to
I
time.
don't like people.
No, no, there are times I can live without them too, but as a sort of an extrovert introvert, yeah.
Yes,
I haven't
yes.
suffered too much this last year being forced to keep away from people.
No, no.
But the thought of opening up again and facing people again, yes, I think there's a lot of us are sort of like, oh God, I don't know what to say to anyone.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, so have you ever been inspired to write about anything other than the Darling?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
I've got my fourth book finished. It's about living next to the rainforest in solitude for 30 years.
right.
It's
Wow.
it's got about 80,000 words. It's finished, but it's got a lot of. I need another 3-6 months to bring it together, and it's
Yeah,
driving me nuts.
yeah.
But it's a
Why's
part
that?
of writing a book. You go, you get the creative, then you hit where you only get 2 words a day, and then so I've got to plug at it. So I'm hoping to have it done by this Christmas, which is what 3 or 4 months or something.
About
I've got
10 weeks, buddy.
oh, same
Yeah.
thing. I've got
Yeah.
15 short stories done. I got 15 travel stories done. I got
Oh,
15 erotic stories done. I got 20
sorry,
poems,
sorry. Was that neurotic or erotic?
both
Oh, okay,
erotic.
cool, cool. Yeah, we
No,
can appeal to both
erotic
genres.
stories.
Yeah,
Erotic
yeah,
stories. Yeah,
yeah, cool.
and enjoying writing them very much. I've got a prequel to the Rivers done. It's a
Yeah.
60,000 words.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got stacks.
Stacks,
If you're
right.
feeling rich, you give me 30,000 a year so I
Yeah.
can pay my bills and just write.
Wish I could. I wish I could. So when did you start writing? Have you always wanted to write? Like,
Um, I think since 1957, 1958, when I was in
yeah,
second class.
yeah.
It's Miss Hogan's fault because for ruining my life. Because what we did in class, we did arithmetic, right, which is your basic mathematics. This in second class at West Dubbo Public School. There's a plug for you.
Well,
Or everything else we did, there was no science, social studies, sport, PE, there was nothing. All we did was composition, reading, spelling, writing, all literacy.
wow.
And we parsed sentences. I just, the 8 parts of speech, I still dream about them. I know
Yeah.
I need to get out. But what she said, she showed us how the words that we were using, that real writers used them, and she showed us the links. And those
Mhm.
days we
Yeah.
had Enid Blytons and Biggles.
Yeah.
Now the books that are available for primary kids or high school kids is incredibly brilliant.
Yeah.
And she looked at us and she said, "You can be writers too."
Oh,
That's it.
that's fantastic.
It's
Yeah.
gone. Totally finished the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great to have a teacher that tells a child that they can be anything they want to be
Ah, and show us how to do
and
it.
show you how. Yeah.
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 My first short story I sent to a competition before I'd done my Bachelor of Ed.
Yeah.
It was handwritten, of course. This is the computers were down that day. And
Yep.
so they wrote back to me and said, 4 judges, it was $20 as first prize and publication.
Wow.
Anyway, she said 3 judges wanted to be the winner. One wasn't sure. So you didn't win the $20, but if you don't mind, could we publish it anyway?
Oh,
Could
wow.
that was it. I was done. I was a world famous writer. Since then, the next 30 years, I entered competitions, poetry, radio plays, novel. I got nothing for 30 years. But the
Oh, wow.
first one, I must have nailed it.
Yeah. Just have you still got that manuscript? Did they
It's
send
on
it
the
back?
wall. It's framed on the wall, and her letter.
Oh, good on you. Good on
Yeah,
you. That's
yes,
that's
I have.
great because that's a little piece of gold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, how lovely. So Miss Hogan, West Dubbo Primary School, was it? Yeah.
Yep.
What happened to her? Do you know?
Well, when I fell in love with her, in those days, you're allowed to love your teacher. It
Yeah.
was okay then.
Yep.
But I was 7 or something,
Yeah.
6, whatever. Because she was really old, you see. And
Yeah.
she wasn't, of course, because when you're 7 or 8, she was probably in her 20s, I don't know.
Yeah.
And 50 years later, there was a reunion.
Yeah.
And my kids were little, had no money, one car, living in Queen, couldn't get down there.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? She turned up
Really?
and she asked, "Where's that Pritchard kid?"
Oh, really?
I know, I just felt awful. And she died just after. And I know, biggest shame of my life that I didn't make an effort to see Miss Hogan to say thank you for ruining my life in a beautiful way.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I have to write. It's like dancers have to dance, or whatever sport that thing in your life that drives you nuts. If you don't do it, you're in trouble.
It's like that drug, isn't it? You just
It
got to
is
do it. Yeah. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. So you're still. Do you write now? You're still working, aren't you?
I do teaching, relief teaching. I do 2-3 days a week.
Right. Right. So you get time to write on your
I
off days.
do, and I read a thing about a short story writer. I can't think of his name. He's won every Australian award. It was on ABC online. And he
Right.
said there's 2 things to do the short stories, which I love writing. He said one is to have a crazy imagination. I have got that.
Yeah.
It's just I make up stories all the time. But he
Yeah.
said the second thing is the discipline of writing. And
Yeah.
I've invented this new thing. It's called procrastination. People, I'm getting royalties. So I did have had it from time to time, but you got to have a pattern and you got to sit down, you got to do it. And
Yeah,
sometimes you'll write 5 pages, sometimes you'll write 3 words. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
And I'm just getting back into that again now because I want to finish this other book.
yeah.
So
As
that's
long as you write something. Yeah,
yes, yeah. Even if
yeah,
you do a bit of editing and punctuation and stuff, yeah,
yeah. I think in the public service they call it small steps improvement. As long as you're
oh, okay.
going, just doing something every day, you do get there. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. 'Cause if you don't,
If you don't, nothing
then you
happens.
start to do all that later.
Yeah.
I'd trick myself. I'll say, right, I will sit down for half an hour
Mhm.
or do an assignment that you have got to do, and it's just you really don't want to do it. Trick yourself and say, I will just do half an hour of the books there,
Yeah,
and I reckon 8 times out of 10, I'll just keep going for hours. There is
yeah,
a couple of times you go, no, I'm going.
yeah, yeah. And if you give yourself permission to go as well, like if you say
Correct.
half an hour,
Exactly.
you
Yep.
know, um, most people can find half an hour in their
Yeah.
day. You just
Yeah.
wait for Netflix. You don't turn it on so early in the evening.
How can you afford Netflix? You must be rich.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't eat.
Yeah, yeah, good. It's like me on the river.
Yeah. Sorry, like you on the river.
Yeah, don't eat.
Yeah, don't eat. What about food poisoning? Was there any risk of that on the
Um,
river?
I don't know. No, I drink the Darling River water. Every river I go on, if I
Yeah,
can't drink the water straight out, I don't go on it. I've
fair
just
enough.
come back from the Paru River. I spent
Yeah,
3 weeks camped in the one spot, which is really new for me
yeah,
because it's only in water holes. It's not a big river, but the
right.
water hole was 50 metres, 60 metres wide, and about 5, 6 k's long, and it
Lovely.
wasn't flowing either into it or out of it. And I just drank the water.
Yeah,
Just
and it
got a
was
bucket and
okay.
drank it. Food, I didn't get food poisoning. I eat anything.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose the water out there is so far from most civilization. There's not that many pollutants out there.
There's a few, but yeah, on the Darling, there's a few with a few chemicals and stuff. But I
Yeah,
know I've met people on the river, and I had my 60-litre drums, plastic drums with stuff in it, and he said, "Oh, is that your water supply?" And I said, "I drink out of the back of the canoe," and he can't drink. He ends up in hospital if he drinks it. He's
really,
just got the severe. Another guy down the river, if he cleans his teeth in the Darling River water, he gets sick.
really. Wow.
I'm very fortunate that does not happen.
Cast iron guts.
Think so.
Yeah, yeah. You're lucky. So, all right. So you're a relief teacher. Have you always been a teacher when you haven't been a writer?
No, I'm a tradie. No, that first short story, when I was then a famous writer and rich after the first one, where I didn't get the $20,
Yeah.
some years later we moved from the bush to Brisbane. I did my Bachelor of Ed. I went to uni when I was 42.
Good on you.
So I did my 4-year Bachelor of Ed and became a school teacher. I love teaching, love it to bits. Don't start me on the system. We could be here for a bit.
Oh,
But
I'd probably join you. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, we won't go into that.
yeah.
But interacting with the kids and colleagues, I absolutely love it to bits.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Um, High school or primary?
Oh, primary kids.
Primary kids. Yeah.
Year 3 up. I'm early childhood trained, but don't tell anybody
No.
because I don't like little kids. They're awful. I started teaching year 2 and I'm still in rehab.
Yeah.
It's just, this is the plug. Teachers P to 3,
Yeah.
just doubled your pay
Right.
and your own coffee machine, whatever you want, and ratio 1 to 15. We'll stop there.
Actually, that'd be great. A ratio of 1 to 15 for that early age group.
Oh, they need it. They work. I mean, all teachers work hard. I know because I
Yeah.
did it upper school.
Yeah.
But the importance of that P to 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's P? Preschool, is it?
prep.
Oh, prep. Okay. We don't
It's
have that in New South Wales.
It's, I don't know, 20 years when going up here or something. I can't remember. It
Right.
used to be kindy, preschool, year 1.
Yeah.
And now you can get childcare and kindy, but it's prep. It's part of
Right.
the state system up here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, kids go from small groups and like if they're in childcare or if they're not in care, they're with their families, and then they go to school, and then they're fighting it out with 30 other kids,
Yeah.
and it's got to be overwhelming for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's huge adjustment. So yeah,
Not to mention the workload on the teachers and teacher aides. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good point. Good point. So sorry, you were 42 when you did your Bachelor of Education.
When I started it, yep.
So what did you do before that? Can I ask? Or you?
Yeah. How long have we got? Only a half an hour.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes left. No, we got time.
I left school when I was 15. Did not like high school. It was awful.
Yep.
Primary school was wonderful.
Yep.
And I always did well at school. It wasn't that I didn't do well, but high school you were graded as in, what's the word, streaming? No, is that not the word? What's the word where you
Yeah,
put the bright kids up here and right down
yeah.
to the...
ABCD. We had ABCD
That was it.
classes. Yeah,
And I was
yeah,
in the A class. I did well, but all my mates were down the bottom, and I
yeah,
just didn't like all these other kids. They were awful.
yeah.
So I left school as soon as I could. 15. Did a
Mhm.
trade. I had a trade. I'm a roof tiler. I was
Oh, okay.
19.
Yeah,
Travelled the world. Went around the world a couple of times in the 70s. Did stuff. Then came back. Went on the river.
yeah.
Didn't get married. I was 32.
Smart man.
Yeah, there's some long stories in there. And then I went up to the rainforest, into a place in southeast Queensland. I won't actually name it because it's in the book. This next one called The Creek, which is coming out.
Okay.
I'll finish it by Christmas, which is 2 years away.
Yep.
So yeah, lived there for 5 years by myself.
Yeah.
Got married, end up there for 14 years at this place, this gorgeous creek next to rainforest. Then moved to Brisbane, did my bachelor ed then. I looked after the kids. My wife worked,
Right. Right. Yep.
the
Yeah.
babies, yeah, which was wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. We did a similar thing when ours was sort of in early high school. We swapped for about 4 years, and Wayne always said it was the best 4 years.
As soon as they were weaned, even before that, they
Yeah.
took them into ballet. I was end up in the ballet with them, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just beautiful.
Yeah. It's you can't buy it, can you?
No.
No,
I still can't sleep properly, mind you.
you couldn't.
I can't sleep properly now
Really?
because
Why is
of the
that?
kids. Well, because when you got little kids, if a leaf falls on a roof, you wake up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I go to sleep really easily, but if something happens, if a truck goes through the front window, I don't wake up. But if a
Oh.
stick falls on the ground about a kilometre away, I wake up.
Oh,
I
that's
know.
interesting.
It's fun sleeping on a riverbank when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. Have you been down the Darling or been canoeing, whatever, after floods? I mean, when you've got all the debris and everything,
Yes.
isn't that dangerous?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yes, I came unstuck on Cooper Creek last year.
Yep.
I've been on the Paroo a few times in Cooper Creek. It was crazy
Yeah.
because the Coolabahs, the Cooper Creek or Cooper's Creek, depends on who you talk to,
Mhm.
in the Channel Country. It's the big waterholes, similar to the Paroo, but a bigger river, and it breaks up into channels, the Channel Country. But I didn't know. I did some research, but when it breaks up into the channels, it's really fast, like 20, 25 k's an hour water, brown
Well, that's
swirly water, going through big coolabah trees. And if you hit one of those sideways in a canoe, well, you're in the water.
yeah. Yeah.
And I only drowned a couple of times, and it wasn't
Right.
very enlightening for me.
Well,
That's in the
that,
canoe.
well, that's scary too, because if you hit your craft into a tree and it becomes unseaworthy, I don't know what the
Mm.
thing, unriverworthy,
Mm.
you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
You've got a boat that's going to sink.
Mm.
You got these drums of food,
Mm.
and possibly, do you have mobile reception? I mean,
Oh,
the
God, no.
70s, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't have had a mobile phone. So, I
Go to
mean,
the tree and make a trunk call.
if you can get to a town.
um, things I did in the 70s, like the trees I climbed and made the pigs charged me. I got bitten by a snake. I'm too old now to do that. It's just like I'm mortal.
Yeah.
No, I've got a satellite phone now, and I
Right.
phone lots of people and
Yeah.
text and my position to the police and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, of course, you wouldn't have done that in the 70s either, would you? You would
Oh,
have just
no.
taken off and,
I just used to pull up and see a nice mountain in the background or a gully. I just pull up, tie the boat up, and go for a walk. No hat, no shirt, no nothing. I'm paying for it now. So I'd go for a walk for about 4 miles in a big circle and come back to the boat. Now, if I'd have fallen or broken my leg up there, that was it.
no one ever would have known.
No.
You're blessed.
Oh,
Okay,
jeez.
can we share a lottery ticket?
Yep, no worries.
I'll send you the dollar. Oh, wow. So, do you reckon you'll ever stop doing that, or will the trips just get shorter as you get older?
I'll stop when I'm in one of those boxes.
Yep.
No. My little philosophy in life from way back was do while you can,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Because if you say, well, I'm going to travel overseas in 4 years' time, all of a sudden it's 2020 and we're locked down. Oh, whoops. Stuff happens. If
Yeah.
you can, I can't do it when I haven't got quite enough money. Get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Because life, you get one chance and it's pretty short.
That's right.
What's Caucasian male, 83 and a half, 84 or something?
Something like that. Yeah.
I'm coming up 70, so I got 14 years.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, and I'll keep doing river trips.
Yeah.
Normally, what I like to do is to paddle 4 to 5 weeks on the river. It takes me 3 or 4 days to get there, do the 4 or 5 weeks, and come home. That is really good.
Yeah, yeah. So taking 4 or 5 days to get there, is that driving there, getting
Yeah,
your
yeah.
okay.
In the old days, I could drive 12 hours a day. Now I do about 5, and I stop and have a cold beer and go to sleep.
Yeah,
I
freshen up.
can't, I can't
Okay,
do long days.
logistics. I'm a maths person, so,
I can see that.
yeah. So you drive to the river and then you start paddling down it for a couple of weeks.
Mm.
How do you get your car back? You don't paddle back up the river, do you?
No, I don't paddle upstream. That is the most asked question that I get. What do you do out there? How do you get back to your ute? In the 70s, I didn't have a ute for starters. I just had
Right.
the boat.
Yeah.
So that wasn't an issue. Okay, for example, if I go to Bourke to Louth, which takes me 3 weeks on the river, give or take,
Mhm.
you can camp on the river near Louth, which has got a pub. That's about it.
Mhm.
And the mailman goes up and down 3 or 4
Right.
times a week. And so you ring and you book, and you normally have to chip in and pay, and they take me and my gear back up to Bourke to my ute.
Oh, fantastic.
That's one. That's a prepared one. But I paddled on the Paru River from Hungerford to Wanarang, which took me a few weeks. And I got to the pub at Wanarang, had no idea how I was going to get my ute back, which is at Hungerford at the pub.
Mhm.
So I pulled into the pub and had a cold beer, and there's 3 or 4 people. This has happened so many times. And where you're from, just that small talk.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll book a room, please. Yep, no worries. And how are you going to get your ute? I said, I don't know. I'll have to hitchhike back or something. And then a guy across the bar said, I live up near Hungerford. I can take you back if you want. I went, and he said, I'm leaving in half an hour. I said, I'm with you. He
Yeah.
drove me back to my
Cancel
ute.
that room, buddy.
No, I stayed. So that
Yeah.
night, he drove me back up to my ute. I chipped
Yeah.
in for petrol money. I drove back to Wanarang, which took me, I don't know, it's an awful bumpy road. It took me a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So by dark that night, I'd pulled in about 2 or 3 o'clock. By dark that night, I had all my gear with me.
Yeah.
I went and picked it all up and loaded on, and I was back at the hotel.
Oh, beautiful.
I know.
And then you sleep in a bed. So when you sleep in a bed for the first time after a trip like that, or during a trip is it like, oh, yes, a bed? Or
No, I normally sleep on the floor next to the bed.
really? Yeah.
Mm. It does take a while, and when you come back to civilization, you got to shower and stuff, and
Yeah.
you got to do small talk.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I look wistfully out the window at the trees and the birds when that happens.
Fair call. So do you sleep on the floor at home?
Every month or two, I sleep on the floor for about a week. Just
Yeah.
crunch my back, and yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the idea of it, the concept, but I would be too terrified to even consider it.
Yeah.
But,
What would you be scared of? The snakes, or loneliness, or hurting yourself?
probably not the loneliness, but the hurting myself.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, just that I'm really I was brought up to always look out for the freak accident. My mother could see the freak
mm,
accident in everything. So yeah, I think of all that sort of stuff. And what you're saying, I cannot believe that in all those trips and all those years, you can just go for walks in the bush the way you have by yourself. And
I know.
and you're still here. I'm talking to you today. Like the
Mm.
potential for disaster is just huge. My mother would never have coped if you'd been her son.
It is. It is huge. Yeah. What I
Yeah,
do when I go out, because I realise I'm mortal,
yeah,
is like camping next to the Paru for 3 weeks. It's not a great danger, mind you. I saw 5 brown snakes near camp. I move slowly, literally. I
yeah.
do not run in the bush or climb big trees. You will come unstuck. In the
Right,
70s, you wouldn't. 70s was different. You're allowed to do that.
right. Yeah,
Now you're not. You're mortal, and you'll. So I literally move slowly. I'm picking up a billy full of boiling water. I assume I'm going to drop it on me.
yeah.
So I move back. So little things like that. I guess maybe it's called maturity. I don't like it particularly.
That's no fun, is it?
It's awful. Just getting soft.
Yeah, I know, and I find I'm forgetting things as well,
Yeah.
which I hate. I've always had a really good memory, and yeah, it's annoying. But
I do talks in libraries and schools about my trips and writing.
yeah,
And I did it. I got invited to do a talk at a school.
yeah,
Free, of course, which I'm happy to do for the minute.
yeah,
And it was a writing class. There was about, I don't know, 15 kids from all different grades,
yeah.
and they asked me questions, and they were just the loveliest bunch, and I did it, and it was really exciting. They all got inspired. Anyway, I was at the school a week later, and the boss said, "Oh, the kids really enjoyed your talk." I said, oh, that's lovely. And he said they got one special thing out of it. And I thought, oh, beautiful. I've inspired a new generation, blah, blah, blah. And he said they could not believe you didn't have a wash for a week. That's the thing. And I said, oh, God. I said, a month next time you see them.
I know. And I think about my grandparents. You know, my grandmother had a bath hanging on the nail in the backyard, and it got brought in once a week, and they all shared the bath water.
Yeah, I know.
And the cleanest went first.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. And
yes, we waste water. Now you know why we.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I know. Yeah. It is. And our skin doesn't need it, but mind you, I have to say the thought of not having a shower every day is just, you get used to it.
You know what happens? Well, if you go out in the bush, right,
yeah,
you can have a bit of a hot wash if you need, which I have done occasionally. If you don't wash your hair, for example, right, after the first week, you are going nuts. You're scratching it. There's spiders come out of it and scabs, and it's greasy. Yeah. After about 10 days, depending, 10 days, and you get a bit of rainwater on it or you pour creek water, it is beautiful and glossy.
Okay.
And then I did the Larapinta Trail some years ago, 3 weeks by myself. No, the last 12 days by myself. No shower, nothing. So I got to the end camp, and these 3 young ladies from Melbourne came up and said, can we talk to you about the camps and the trek? I said, yep, no worries. I said, don't get too close. I haven't had a wash. And they said, you don't smell. Wow. You smell like gum trees or the earth. And that's the same thing. The first week, you will stink like anything. After about a week, depending, 10 days, you do not stink. Yeah. You smell earthy. I know people don't believe me, but try it one day.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to say yes, but ain't going to happen. Not in my world. But so clothing. Do you wear all natural clothing, like all cotton? I mean, in the 70s, you probably would have because we didn't have the polyesters. But do you make an effort to avoid synthetics now?
Yes and no. Yeah, yes, I do. But certain shirts or clothes, if they make me feel hot or they burn, you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
No, I just wear a blue singlet.
Okay.
Footy shorts and a blue singlet.
Yeah.
It's called an old ex-army wool thing which you could wear in Antarctica.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. I would burn. I'd be burnt in 2 minutes if I didn't. I'd have to cover up.
I'm paying for it dearly at the present moment, but never mind.
Yeah. We'll keep getting those skin checks, mate. So the next book is called The Creek?
At this point, it's called The Creek, yes.
Not canoeing down the creek or paddling down the creek or anything like that?
No, nothing to do. The Darling River gets a mention because it's part of the story, but there's no river trip, nothing. It's so it's a fiction. It's 90% true, but because I was there for 14 years, only the first 5 by myself. This is 30 years alone next to Rainfall. So it is a fiction and it's a fantasy. So it's about building the house, the timber house, living, all that goes with it. Bushwalks up in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. It's a love story, and it's, you don't have ratings on things. You've got MA and all that. Yeah. And you go R, then you go X, right? Well, mine is beyond X.
Oh, okay.
So it's got that element
Double
of
X.
it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's X plus. And it's also that search for the real self through solitude.
Yeah.
So I have finished it, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm just starting to. I come back off the river a few weeks ago. I'm getting back into that, and I just love writing it. So it's finished. But as I said, I need a little bit longer to.
Yeah, you've got to go over your work. You can't just
put it together. There's holes in it, and
Yeah. And you've got to like your own work. I think I was talking about this with John Wenatong last week. If you don't like your work, why would anybody else like it?
Yeah. All the stuff I've read about beginning writers, which I'm a beginner writer, including the Eat, Pray, Love girl, they say write for yourself. Don't write for the market. Write. Don't listen to anybody who says you've got to do this or you've got to have professional editors. I agree with that. Yeah. So actually last night I stayed up late reading parts of my first book. I got some laughs.
Oh, good.
Totally easy. Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's good. That's good when you can go back and you still care for it. It does that for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, good on you. So now you're getting into fiction. That'll be interesting.
Well, I've got the short stories which are crazy and the travel stories which are really wacky travel stories. I don't want to be a guidebook.
No, no.
Like I've said I've said the Paru River stories, which I've got 3 Paru River stories. Not the one where I canoed. I went last year. I went in July this year and August, September this year. Different places.
Right.
So it's about when you travel, you play tourist, right? You go to Eiffel Towers or whatever, and you also learn about the culture and the food and the dress of that country. But if you don't learn something about yourself or reflect on your life, I think you've missed something pretty important. So I combine the 3 things.
Right.
So I've got the 3 things in these short travel stories. Who's the Glenn A. Baker? Have you read his short travel stories?
No, I haven't actually.
The rock and roll writer?
Yeah.
He's won every award on the planet for his short travel stories.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
All he's done, I've got all his books. He's got like Condobolin, 1960.
Yeah.
And that's his heading, and away he goes.
Yeah.
So I've done a little bit of the touristy stuff, but it's how I react to the river, and I try to include the reader. I am really enjoying writing travel stories.
Yeah, because if you don't, as you say, if you don't get something out of it for yourself, then you're just an observer. You're not a participant.
That's right, and try to interact with the locals a bit. Well, mind you, I like camping by myself, but
yeah.
Look,
if you don't interact with the people that are there, again, you're only observing. You're not integrating at all. You don't. You just get so much more out of a place than just looking at it.
Yes.
If you actually make the effort to talk to people. Yeah. Oh, good on you. Good on you. Well, I might leave you in peace now because this is your day. Cool. This is your day off, isn't it?
It is actually. I list on my teaching Monday to Thursday. I leave Friday spare.
Yeah.
Main reason is they do inter-school sport. Like I've got a metal knee and I can't run. I used to do lots of sports and coaching and stuff, but I can't run. And sometimes there's sport, sometimes there's not. So I go, no, I'll have Friday off.
Hang on. If you're the teacher, why are you running?
Because if you happen to get a relief a year 6 class and that teacher goes and does touch football, you're it.
Oh.
Yeah. And I used to ref touch foot. Yeah. And it makes it awkward. And I can't put on there, I'll only go to schools where there's no inter-school sport or that teacher. It's not anyone else's job to do that. So I go, no. So, yeah.
So Friday's your day.
I'm
good on you. Writing. So today's your writing day.
Today's my writing day. So I want to thank you and Ali for looking after me. You've done brilliantly. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for trusting us with your books.
Oh, no, it's been wonderful. And my thousands of questions, you so diligently. I'm waiting for a bill. Not to do that, but you must spend so much time. So thank you so much.
Look, it's not until you publish a book, I think, that you understand what actually goes on.
I had no idea. No idea all the work and the stuff that you do. It's just, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I wouldn't have the intelligence or the patience. I just need to write.
I think you'd have the intelligence, and I think if you can float down a river, you probably have the patience, but it's the people. You've got to want to be doing that sort of stuff, and we love doing that for you. So, hope we see the creek one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, thank you. Have a great day writing and safe paddling.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
You've been listening to an IndieMosh interview with Tony Pritchard. If you'd like to learn more about Tony or check out some of his books, then visit indiemosh.com.au or search for his books at your favourite online retailer. I'm Jenny Mosher. Thanks for listening.